team today changed plans. Sometimes we're going in one direction and then take a sharp turn. I kindly remind you to put your other devices on silent mode and your on vibrate, make sure they're not on a hard surface. Please take the time to locate what is the nearest emergency exit while located. I remind you that the restroom is just outside of the room to your right. And without further ado, let me invite to the left our presiding officer, Mr. Jason Evans.
Thanks, Hector. I love it when you can join in and start us off on the meeting. That's great. All of our rules are important, and the Sergeant at Arms is the most important rule to get us started on time, and you do your best to get us started when we can. As a presiding officer, I don't have much to do but welcome guests and introduce the Toastmaster today. So let's go ahead and welcome everyone that's here, both members and guests, because we can't have a meeting without you. It's really hard to have a meeting when there's only two people. Table topics sucks when you're just bouncing questions off each other. And you have one speaker and then that other person's the evaluator. So the more people, the merrier, and we can have a real great meeting. And now, without any further ado, our Toastmaster, the one, the only, our treasurer, who keeps track of all the money that we do or don't have, and our member dues that everybody has hopefully paid, Andrew Crowell. Thanks, sir.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but could we do intros?
Yes.
Thank you.
Tonight we're going to kick things off by doing a quick round of introductions. We'll start with Jeremy. If you could just tell us your name, how long you've been with Toastmasters, maybe a little bit about what you do outside of the club.
Okay. My name is Jeremy Alexander. I'm a banker. Bank First Kentucky Bank out of Mayfield, Kentucky. Outside of Toastmasters, I like to play golf, not very well, but I like to play. And I'm just happy to be here.
I'm Matt Youngs. I go back to the founding of this particular club, and outside of Toastmasters, I enjoy reading in the outdoors.
My name is Charron. I'm retired. I'm currently working on a garden greenhouse, and the theme is I fought the wind, but the wind won. I'm still working on it. I've been in Toastmasters for many, many years, and I plan to be here until they get tired of me. Thank you.
I'm Tyreek. I'm a guest. I've been a member of Toastmasters for around 3 years. I'm a social media influencer as well as cook.
I'm Rick. I'm president of the Westside Toastmasters currently. I've been a member since 2018, and outside of Toastmasters, plus have kind of a cop out to say since I'm a personal trainer, health coach, and all that. But I like to stay outside, be fit, and especially if it's great weather like this, I like to be outside and just enjoy the weather. Thank you.
Jason Evans, VP of Membership of the club. Been a member off and on since 2013, mostly off, but sometimes on. And even when I'm here, I'm still off and sometimes on. I'm like an anti-banker, I guess, because I don't have any money. And I went to the ATM today and they started laughing at me. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Leon. I have been in Toastmasters in last year in September. And outside of Toastmasters, I work as a transport engineer, like a network engineer at Windstream. And I like working out, I like being outside, and I also like learning new things. Thank you.
All right, everyone. My name is Curtis Scott. I think this is my third time being a guest here, maybe fourth. I live down in Kentucky. I'm an environmental inspector for the state of Kentucky. And I think my favorite thing to do is just go bicycling.
My name's Andy Crowell. I've been a member of Toastmasters for about 6 years now. Outside the club, I am a compliance officer at Old National Bank.
Did we get Hector?
Oh, Hector.
Thank you. I am Hector Cabrera. I'm a member of this club since 2015. I currently live in Houston, Texas. I'm so grateful that we have these virtual meetings. And I work in sales. As you know, I'm the virtual sergeant of this government.
Well, our theme tonight is change in plans. And when situations change, and they always seem to do that, the plans we make for ourselves tend to fall apart. And when they do, we have to make a decision. You know, do we adapt our plans so that we can still achieve our goals? Or do we fight the change? Or do we just cut our losses and walk away? Now, any three of those could be the correct answer depending on the situation. But changing plans are something we must face in our roles as effective communicators and leaders. Some of these changes may be, you know, a change of venue, technology failures, you know, role changes for the meeting. Somebody may not be able to attend. And our meetings give us the opportunity to practice and anticipate these changes so that we can create flexibility in our plans and adapt when we're outside of here. Now, in addition to practicing our speaking at Toastmasters, we also practice our listening skills. And the second half of our meeting is dedicated to providing feedback for our speaking roles. And tonight we have our general evaluator, Charron Combs. Charron, would you like to tell us about what you'll be doing in that role?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, it's General Evaluator. The purpose of the General Evaluator is to evaluate everything that takes place throughout the meeting. During the meeting, I will take notes on everything that happens and doesn't happen. I will evaluate each participant on the meeting program and look for good examples of preparedness, organization, delivery, enthusiasm, observation, and performance of duties. At the end of the meeting, I will give my report. Thank you, Toastmaster.
And did you want to introduce the evaluation team as well?
Yes. My evaluation team is going to help me this evening. Let me look. Evaluator number 1, who's going to evaluate the first speech, is Cabrera. And evaluator number 2.
It's not here.
Well, I'm looking around. I need a volunteer or voluntold for an evaluator.
Only Chris Drick's on.
Anybody? Thank you. All right. You'll be evaluating the second speaker, and I'll give you a form so you can fill that out while you do that. And thank you so much for stepping up. Those will be our 2 evaluators. Do you want me to do the... Is that all you want me to, or you want me to do the rest of it?
You don't want to call on the out counter, grammarian, and timer, and ballot counter to let us know who those people are going to be? And
Yeah,
what
I
those
didn't know
roles
if you
are
wanted me to
also,
do
or-
all of that.
Okay.
That's
okay.
why I was asking, do you want me to do all that?
Yes.
Okay. Timer is going to be Jason. He's going to time the speaking, and this is to keep the meeting on time. He's going to time the speeches, and he's also going to time the impromptu. A counter, that's me. I'm counting uhs, ahs, ums, pauses, things like that. Grammarian, I'm counting how many times you use the word pragmatic, so everyone find a reason to be pragmatic today. And those are the things I will be doing, and that's part of my evaluation team. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. I'll move along to our invocation and flag salute. And our invocation is usually, you know, an inspirational thought, and sometimes, you know, it can be religious or not. It's just, you know, I guess it's one's preference. But tonight, I would like to just share a few quotes that I found about changing plans. The first one is, if the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, "In preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable." When nothing goes right, go left. And a goal without a plan is just a wish. And the last one I have for you is from Douglas MacArthur. "No plan ever survives its first encounter with the enemy." And with that, I'd like everybody to please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, our first speaker is our poet jester. Tonight, that's going to be Rick. Rick will get us warmed up with a poem or a humorous moment. Rick.
Thanks so much, Andy. Silence. as I come to the- Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. I have a little poem here since I saw the theme was change of plans. I found a poem called Embrace the Change. I changed my hair, I changed my style, I changed my look, I changed my smile. I changed my hat to suit the fad, I changed my clothing that I had. I changed my diet and my routine, I changed into a fitness machine. I changed my lifestyle, I changed my physique, I changed from welcoming to quiet and meek. I changed my character and changed my friends. I changed the way the story ends. I changed the goals, the sights I'd see. I changed everything that made me me. I changed my mind, I changed direction. I changed how I viewed my reflection. I changed back to how I began, exactly the same for a completely changed man. Thank you.
Now, our first prepared speaker tonight is the Executive Vice President of First Kentucky Bank. He has extensive experience in management and has held numerous leadership roles in his 20-plus years in the financial world. Today, he is going to discuss why leadership is so important in business and politics. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Alexander.
Thank you. When you Google leadership, hundreds, if not thousands of things pop up. Books on how to become a better leader, books on what bad leadership is, people who claim that they can make you a better leader, classes, you name it. There is a lot of money in leadership, in teaching people to be leaders. So I asked myself the other day, can a company function without good leadership? Can a country function without good leadership? And in my opinion, the answer is yes. A company can function without good leadership. And a country can function without good leadership until there's a crisis. When there's a crisis, as Warren Buffett said, when the tide goes out, you get to see who's not wearing swim trunks. When there's a crisis, you get to see who doesn't have a leader. In my 49 years on this earth, I have seen many examples of good leadership. But one that sticks out was back in 1986, when the space shuttle was going to be launched into space. And in this particular instance, they were going to have some civilians. And one happened to be a teacher. This was a big, big deal. The country was behind it. The media was behind it. It was huge. In fact, the State of the Union was planned for that night so that we could tout the big feat that occurred. So most kids, if not every kid, was sitting there in class watching the space shuttle being launched. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in 6th grade, sitting there in class, and the teacher wheels this TV in front of us. And of course, then the screens weren't very big, but the TV was monstrous, probably weighed 600 pounds. And they wheeled it in front, and we're sitting there watching this. She turns it on, and there's the space shuttle, and then the countdown, 10, 9, all the way down to 0. The fire at the bottom of the space shuttle. The launch, we watched the launch, and then we watched the explosion. And when the explosion happened, the silence in that room was deafening. There wasn't anybody making a noise. No one really knew what to say. No one really knew what to do. It was, in fact, when I looked at the teacher, she didn't know what she should say or she should do. And as a nation, we all felt the same thing. We had a race to space. That was a big deal. Who was going to be the first to get there? And so it was a national pride to be putting people up into space. And then you also had a teacher that was on board. And some of us looked at it and thought, you just killed a teacher. And so you had instances where people thought NASA just killed a teacher and should be disbanded. So that night was supposed to have been the State of the Union, but instead it was canceled, obviously. And Ronald Reagan got in front of the TV and spoke to the nation. And I believe this was part of the crisis. We had people that lost hope in the program, didn't know how to react to a teacher being killed. And he gave his short but sweet speech, and I remember it as a 6th grader. And I'll give you an excerpt of that. I apologize. To give you an idea how this speech was presented. And I want to say something to the school children of America who were watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future and will continue to follow them. I've always had great faith in and respect our space program, and what happened today does nothing to diminish it. We don't hide our space program. We don't keep secrets and cover things up. We do it all up in front of the public. That's the way freedom is, and we wouldn't change it for a minute. We'll continue our quest in space. There will be more shuttle flights and more shuttle crews, and yes, more volunteers, more civilians, and more teachers in space. Nothing ends here. Our hope and our journey continues. That speech didn't save the United States, but it probably saved NASA, because a lot of people wanted this disbanded. It was a speech that brought us all together when we really didn't know how to react. So when I go back to that question of can a country survive without good leadership, that first crisis, you better hope your leader is wearing swim trunks. Thank you.
We all need a laugh occasionally. Tonight, our second prepared speaker will have some different types of humor and how they can sometimes work out. In his project, Know Your Sense of Humor, Matthew Young.
Thank you, Andy. Well, I had no idea I was going to be following that, but it's a pretty heavy topic there, and a bit of a lighter scene would be a good thing here. So, talking about different kinds of humor. We all have that friend who's funny, and you go, man, I wish I could be as funny as him, or her, whoever it is. Part of the humor, part of pulling off humor and making it work is knowing which joke is going to be the right joke for you. For example, do any of you know the difference between a well-dressed unicyclist and a poorly dressed bicyclist? Attire. So see, that's the one-liner. Everybody's heard some of these. You know, why did the chicken cross the road? Why didn't the skeleton cross the road? All those kinds of different things. One-liners just are kind of a toss it out there, let it hit or not hit, get the groan or get everybody looking at you like, why, what, huh? But then you move on from there. And then there are some that are kind of an intermediate sort of joke. As far as, is it a longer joke? You can tell some embellishments to it and kind of build up a little bit to it. Like, for example, I heard recently about some explorers who were hacking their way through the jungle, and they came to this clearing. And there was a lizard up on its hind legs. And it was telling jokes to different other animals there, and some of the tribesmen were watching it, and the explorers came up and they said, "That lizard's pretty funny." And one of the tribesmen said, "Oh, that's not a lizard. He's a stand-up chameleon." Oh, tough room. You have that slightly longer joke where you get the build up, you get people kind of leaning in for that punchline that you deliver, and man, sometimes it knocks it out of the park, and sometimes you just end up with everybody looking at you going, "I can't believe you told that horrible, horrible joke." And then sometimes you can have that perfect joke for a given situation. When I was about somewhere around 6 or 8 years old, had to be about that age, Dad and Grandpa and I were all out in the boat together. And it's Dad's boat, but we were using Grandpa's trolling motor or engine or whatever it was. And the game warden stopped us. Now, I don't know about you all, but the game warden has a lot of power. More than almost any other law enforcement officer. They can seize your boat, they can seize your fishing tackle, they can seize the trailer you brought the boat there with, the vehicle you drove it there with. They have a lot of power. And so the game warden stops us, and the boat's not registered, and Dad says, "Well, you know, I don't have an engine on it, it's not mine, it's Dad's," and Grandpa's like, "Well, it's not my boat." And the game warden says, "Okay, it doesn't matter whether or not the boat and the engine are owned by the same person, you have to have it registered if it's under power at all." Okay, so he's gonna give us a ticket. Not a big deal, or maybe it was gonna be a warning, I don't even know, but I was a little guy, and I asked him, "Did you hear about the guy who lived next to the game warden?" He says, "No, tell me about that." So I told him. There was a fellow who lived next to a great game warden, and this fellow would go fishing just about every day, and he'd come back having caught the limit, and they were nice, big fish, impressive, and you know, the game warden said, "I gotta go with you and see where you're catching these fish, because I don't know anywhere where you can keep catching the limit day after day and do that well. You must have some kind of secret." The guy said, yeah, sure, come with me." So the next day, game warden gets up and he joins the guy. And they go out and they get in the guy's boat and they get out onto the lake. And the game warden's thinking, you know, this is not that different from where I fish. This seems pretty normal. Till the guy pops open his side of his boat here, gets out his stick of dynamite, lights it, and tosses it into the water and lets it drop, and boom! And of course, fish start floating up to the top that have been stunned. Game warden says, no, you're not allowed to fish that way. That's illegal. You can't do that. And the guy starts, starts using his dip net, picking up the ones he wants, putting them in the live well. Nods, says, okay. Takes another stick of dynamite out, lights it, hands it to the game warden, says, "You gonna talk or you gonna fish?" And so the game warden that was writing this ticket laughed. My understanding from Dad is that he was sitting there going, "Oh no, how's this gonna turn out? Is this gonna be okay? Is this gonna be bad?" And at that point, the game warden wrote "void" across the ticket. And, here, you guys know better now, don't do it again. And got a laugh out of it and let it slide. And the really funny thing is that Grandpa held on to that, and after he passed away, we found in his tackle box the pink copy of the ticket that had "void" written across it for the having a boat under power without being registered. So sometimes you have that perfect joke that just fits your moment, and I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity when you have it. Enjoy it. Tell the joke, whether it's something that's a long, drawn-out one or whether it's a short, simple one. Like, do you know what you call an escaped prisoner who is vertically challenged and can commune with the dead? Why, it's a small, medium at large. And on that note, I will get out of the lecture.
The library will be closing in 30 minutes.
That's called the Toastmaster warning.
I was going to say, I've never heard that before, ever.
I think that's for us.
All right, so now that we've heard from both of our prepared speakers, go ahead and vote using your ballot form who you thought the best speaker was tonight, and pass that over to our ballot counter to decide who is going to be
I can do it if you want to, since
Okay.
Mike's not here.
And pass those over to Rick for the winners at the end of the meeting. Moving along, we're gonna go to our impromptu speaking. Tonight, our table topics master is Hector Cabrera. So I'll turn things over to you, Hector.
I appreciate this opportunity and I love the subject theme of our meeting. I think you set the stage greatly, Andy, when you talk about how important it is to plan for success. One of my favorite quotes says, well, if you fail to plan, you're basically planning to fail. And I'm sure you hear that before. But I want to share with you another quote that I really like before we start, and it's this. Everybody has a plan until he gets punched in the face. And then we have to change our plan. So I want to focus my questions today in change more than in planning. And I'm going to do it in the following fashion. I am going to ask a question, let it sink in so that you can think about it, maybe raise your hand and volunteer. If I don't have a volunteer, then I will choose a victim. But I think it's gonna be fun. So my first question for you guys is, and this is fun, I don't think that's hard. But it's very interesting because of how quickly this world changed. Name something that has changed drastically since your parents' generation. Name something that has changed drastically since your parents' generation. Any takers?
I can take that.
Go ahead, Rick, thank you.
That's a great question, Mr. Topics Master. So, since my parents' generation, the first thing that pops up to me was just change in general is all the AI changes we've been seeing lately. I know I gave a speech a few weeks ago about different voice technologies, 11 Labs, stuff like that. You can mimic people's voices and make them say things they didn't say, and that's all crazy. And in the intro to that speech, I just kind of mentioned ChatGPT, because I thought everyone would know what that was, and I saw some faces in the crowd like, what? What's that? And you can go to an AI and just ask it questions, and it'll tell you an answer. You ask it to write a blog for you, and it will write the blog right in front of you, line by line, in about 15 seconds. It's not foolproof, but it's pretty dang good. And I actually saw something that was really interesting. A little video popped up and said, this actually could be detrimental to creators, because if you put something on the internet, let's say you made a video or you have a website that answers a certain question about fixing your car, let's say. So normally people would go on Google, they'd Google it, how do I fix this car part? And they'd go to this website, it might have ads on it, and they'd make some money on someone going to the website. Well, now if they use a AI like that, it will just tell them the answer, and then the website won't actually make any money from it, even though it's pulling the answer from the website. So this is just something that is very different than my parents' generation, but just so crazy even compared to a year or two ago. So that might affect different creators and website people, because they're using the answers from those websites but not getting clicks and views from it. So it's all crazy stuff. I feel like it's only going to get crazier as it goes on, but that's something that's changed in the last year, let alone my parents' generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Excellent. Excellent example. We see this changing every day, moving fast. So now let me ask, remember the first time when I came to America and I encountered a wagon of the Amish in the highway in Illinois, and I just didn't know that their lifestyle And I cannot even imagine what will happen to my kids that are spoiled growing in this generation. But let's just do for fun this question. If technology suddenly would disappear from our lives, how would our world change? For the better or for worse? Let me say it again. If technology all of a sudden disappeared from our life, technology as we in our generation know, how would our world change? For the better or for the worse? Let's take that question. Katrina.
Oh, go ahead, no, go ahead.
Okay.
I suffer first here.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So how would my world change if technology was not like invented or anything? I think it would be horrific because for me, I do everything with technology. I work from home. I use different laptops. I use different software of how I install equipment and how I talk to my technicians and how I talk to other engineers. It's through technology. It's through video chat, either by Teams or Zoom calls. Everything I do is via technology, and also it's not only work that I do use technology, it's also when I talk to my parents because I live here in the US and I live in the other part of the world in Bolivia, in South America. So if technology wasn't here, I would not be able to talk to them. Even like 6 years ago when I came here, it would be kind of difficult for me to talk to them through the week, and that will also affect my mental health because for me it's necessary for me to talk to them almost every day because I can feel closer and I can feel that they are still there and I can make sure that they are doing fine. So in many ways technology has improved my life because I have seen a lot of improvement in the engineering side when I was going through college, and also how everything improved in my job and how we were able to work from home and not work in the office. So yeah, if technology wouldn't exist, it would be bad for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Great answer. Now, I'm going to invite our guests. Audience friend, if you want to participate, up to you. You don't have to. This question is for either of you. If you want to take it. It's hard to believe, but it's now 3 years since the pandemic. How has your life changed in the last 3 years? It doesn't have to be related to the pandemic, just in general. How has your life changed in the last 3 years?
I'll take it. All right.
Go ahead, thank you, Carson.
All right, yeah, no problem there. Thanks for the question there, all right. I'm sure I'm supposed to call you something,
People's Toastmaster.
Toastmaster, yes, all right. Hey, first off, I want to say I really appreciate your answer there about all that tech stuff. How has my world changed since the pandemic? Honestly, I hate to say this, but I think I've become lazier, all right? And what I mean by that is where I work, we had so many policies put in place where we could like work from home and, a couple days a week, now the pandemic's over and they've given us a choice to go into the office 5 days a week or work from home a couple days. So guess which one I choose? All right. So there's that. And then things at work have become more lax because the couple days a week or the 3 days a week where I go into the office, maybe those 3 days are 2 of those days are days when my boss decides he's going to work from home. So it's kind of like free range there at work again also. I mean, we still get our work done, but we don't have that stress on us all the time. The push. Because at the end of the day, our bean quota hasn't changed. We're still getting the same amount of work done, but we don't feel as stressed. And I'm still on green, so I got to come up with some more here.
No, you're
all right. Yeah. Oh, is green good?
Yeah.
Green is good.
So green means I'm done my 1 minute?
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
Thank you for participating, Curtis. And in the essence of time, it's 6:40, and we're going to turn this meeting back to our Toastmaster. And the yours.
you, Hector. Those are some great questions that really tied into our theme for tonight. Now, we heard from all of the table topic speakers. Please go ahead and vote for who you think was the best and pass your ballots over to Rick. That concludes the speaking portion of the meeting. Next, we're going to provide some feedback for our speaking roles. And leading us is going to be our general evaluator, Charron Combs. I'd like to welcome her to the front. Charron.
Thank you.
Nice.
The library has kindly given us notice, so we're gonna be out of here on time. Because you know what I say at the end of the meeting. All right. General evaluator. Let's see, our first evaluator, evaluating speaker number 1 is gonna be Cabrera. Cabrera.
Okay. So first thing, I like your speech about leadership and how you did your intro and how you mentioned that there are many books and articles, many information out there on how to be a good leader and how to achieve good leadership. And I also like that you emphasize that how important it is to have good leadership and how bad leadership can impact a country, a company, or any kind of organization. And I also find that interesting where you add the personal example, how you were in school, you were watching the actual space launch and how you felt during that moment and how catastrophic was when you saw that they couldn't make it and a teacher was killed during that on that day, and how important it is to have good leadership at that moment because the population was probably vulnerable during that time and they were not sure how to react or what to do, and when the leader stepped on that day, he gave a speech and he made them feel much better. So that when you add that, it was a good example of leadership. It was good leadership for a country. And things that you did well, it was you did a good job of talking to the audience. You were looking at the audience, and you had a good voice and articulation. And the only things that you could improve maybe is that maybe the use of hands. You use one hand really well, but the other one is still hiding. I also struggle sometimes with that because I don't know what to do with them. So yeah, maybe you can practice in the mirror before you do your speech and see how you do your movements and try to improve your body language. I think that's it for my evaluation. Thank you.
And our second evaluator is our guest who said he would help us out today, and I thank you for doing that. And you know I forgot your name.
It's Tariq.
Tariq. Thank you. That's my mind, that's all. I'm old. Tariq, if you'd like to come up and evaluate our second speaker, please.
Don't take me serious, I just got here. So I'm evaluating the second person. I'm gonna go off what I wrote right here. Authentic demeanor, confidence, truly shows. Like I said, I just met you.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes.
So don't take me too serious. Great speech. Keep it going. Dig deep, you know, with personal. I feel like it's good when people bring personal experiences into play. And pace yourself and your breath. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, they are not playing. They want us out here.
One thing I like
It's
is
like a
location.
countdown,
We might have to find out.
All right, everybody, please vote for the best evaluator and pass that around. If you haven't done the best table topics, make sure you pass that around. Also, the best speaker, get that over there too. While you're doing that, the good news is, as far as your uhs, ums, and the rest of that, everybody did very well today. You didn't give me anything to count. I appreciate that. I think you all did an excellent job. As far as the word of the day, it was used some at the beginning of the meeting, but nobody used it during the meeting. I put it right there in front of you. We're gonna work on that. And because I'm trying to keep us on time before they give us another countdown, while everybody's got their votes over, I'm gonna ask the Toastmaster to come up. And, I forgot the time. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I did forget the timer. Thank you for helping me with that. If the timer could tell us how we did.
Thank you, General Evaluator, for the great introduction. So, speakers. Jeremy, you said you're gonna be 3 to 5. You were at 5 minutes, 13 seconds, just a little bit over. Matt said 5 to 7. He was 5 minutes, 55 seconds, right in the time. Evaluators are supposed to be 2 to 3 minutes. Cabrera was just a hair under with 1 minute, 57 seconds. And Tariq was way under with 55 seconds. So that's something to work on. But our table topics is supposed to be between 1 and 2 minutes. And we've got Rick at 1 minute, 47 seconds. Katerina at 1 minute, 32 seconds. And Curtis at 1 minute, 33 seconds. But I think 3 or 4 seconds was him guessing on whether or not he needed to speak more or not. But he still stayed within the time limit, so thank you. And that is my report.
Thank you. Also, if you'd like to give a note or a message to any of the speakers, there's a place on the ballot for that. If you want to tell them what they did really well, or if you want to have some thoughts or anything you'd like to give to them, do that. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn this over to the Toastmaster, and also making sure that we get out here on time, because they ain't playing. Toastmasters.
Or how many more alerts we're gonna get? Before they close.
I hope they give us a countdown like an explosion.
I hope so.
The library closes in 10.
Get out in
9.
5.
I'd like to thank everybody for their participation tonight. And as we wrap things up, I think we can go ahead and announce our winners. Are you?
Sure, if anyone wants to vote, this last second to do it, no? All right, which one would you like?
Let's start with Best Evaluator.
Best evaluator tonight is Caterina.
Charron?
You want to get a picture, Charron? Get up there, Caterina.
Hold on.
Rick got on to me for timing too. He wanted to make sure I was on time for my timer roll. So he's gonna make sure you get your pictures.
I always do that. I always like, if someone else is a timer, I'm like looking like, oh, they haven't touched their phone yet. I don't know why I do that.
It was on.
I love it. I love it. You're the timer for the timer. I like it.
Why don't we do all of them at the end, because the phone was off, we got the phone coming
Oh.
on. Just announce
Alright.
the winner.
All right.
Okay.
I'll do them at the end, because I turned my phone off to save my battery.
Okay. And next, Best Evaluator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Best
Best
evaluator
Table
twice.
Topics.
best table topics in a very close race was myself.
Recount.
Count of them. And
Best Speaker.
the main event, the best speaker tonight is Jeremy.
You touched my feelings with that one. That was.
Good.
I
was a
went
good
over
speech.
because you said it wasn't long enough, so I did that for you.
You told me the timing at the beginning was 3 to 5, so
Then you
I
gave
stuck
me the
with
stink
that.
eye, and I had to go
Yeah,
longer.
it's all right. You got on my feelings on that, so.
All right, and And Jason, I'll try to spare you a trip to the front, but is there anything you would like to add as the presiding officer?
Well, we don't have much time to talk about everything I want to talk about, but at the very beginning, before the meeting started, I had this great idea that Charron said, "Hey, that's a great idea, let's do that." And then she made a point as general evaluator to not call up each one of us to come up to the lectern and talk about our roles. She talked about all of our roles from her seat, which was not up by the lectern for it to be recorded also. So, are we gonna do recordings? We should be presentable. If we're not gonna do recordings, then it doesn't matter what we do. That would be the only thing.
It was correct, and I completely forgot it.
That's all right. If you don't like my idea, just shoot me down. I'm okay with it.
No, it was a good idea.
That's a good idea. Let's not do it. Okay. I'm like,
You
okay.
can help me with these things.
I don't want to point out anything. I'm nobody.
Oh, but you
told
just
that longer than
pointed
me.
it out.
I bow before you.
Okay,
You're the female Mike Whittle of the club. So
I'm gonna stick you in the eye with a microwave
Okay.
french fry.
All right,
Thank you.
with that, we'll conclude the meeting.
All right, in front of the. Don't knock together now.
Nice, have a great rest of your week.
Bye, Hector.
You too, Hector, take care.
See you later, Hector.
I think in the future, we should all echo back to Hector so he can feel like he's part of the,
Yeah, there you go.
since you heard an echo. We didn't hear you echoing, but since you heard it. Water. I hate to do water, so I put flavoring in it.
That corner over
Right,
there.
yes. Supposed to be half.
Give me that. I mean, I'm just trying to get it.